The seeds are locked in. The NFL playoffs are ready to go. And if you need more fantasy football in your life, there's no better way to keep that going than some fantasy football playoff best ball drafts coming up on Underdog. I also sampled the competition as well. I'll talk about that, but we got a draft cooking right now, so I will waste no time getting right into it because the Mitten 3 on Underdog is dangerously close to filling, about 91% filled. The Gauntlet, which is the bigger money tournament with 100K up top, that one already filled over the weekend, if not overnight. So I didn't see it fill. Woke up to the Gauntlet 2 and was like, oh crap, I guess there goes the edge I thought we had drafted in the Gauntlet. But the Mitten 3 should be closing by end of day today. So get in line with me right here. Strap in. It's playoff best ball time. And I'll talk about the matchups, talk about some strategies, talk about what I'm going to try to do today to make some good teams on the way out here, because we got about 5 days to get all these teams in before the football all starts. So let's get into it. And while this Mitten here starts to load, I'll talk about the schedule real fast. We do have the whole playoff schedule solidified over the weekend. Saturday going to be a day where Seattle and San Francisco go head-to-head. San Francisco a 10-point favorite in that game. We have the Chargers and Jacksonville also on Saturday. Chargers somehow only a 1-point favorite on the road, and that one kind of an interesting little line to open that week up. Miami and Buffalo going to be the one on Sunday starting it off. That's a -10.5-point favorite for Buffalo. Buffalo going to be a team that'll be very popular in these Mitten drafts. And if we do a Gauntlet draft as well, coming up there as well, be very popular in those builds. Giants, Minnesota 3-point favorite. Cincinnati, a 6.5-point favorite against Baltimore on Sunday. And in Dallas and Tampa Bay, they are the Monday Night Football game. So I'm about to make my pick, which is going to be my old friend Christian McCaffrey that I'm now getting in quite literally every playoff best ball draft. But I'm going to do it again here. So before I talk about what I'm going to do strategy-wise, and I will say up top here, if you're new to playoff best ball, if you're trying to figure out what you can do for yourself, the best thing, if you are a new person to it, is to try to stick yourself to a 4-3-3 build. Your 4-person build should be the team from one conference that you expect to go to the Super Bowl. Then your 3-3s to be the team you're going to on the other side from the other conference to try to get into that Super Bowl lineup. So give yourself 2 outs there, 2 potential Super Bowl teams for one conference, 1 Super Bowl team that you are obviously dearly tethered to get there on the other side. And the goal, as it always is going to be in any of these drafts, is to win it all in the end. Advancing, obviously important, but winning it all at the end is where you get the big prizes. So that's what we are focused on here today. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to everybody else watching after the fact. Hopefully the connection is sturdy. I think Alex is streaming some shows for work upstairs. So that is going to be hopefully not an inhibitor to what we're trying to do here. But I'll make another pick coming up. And we got actually our pick of the litter here, which is not usually the case when picking in this spot. But McCaffrey fell to us. I think let's build some Bills going back the other way. Why not? So Short Gamer asked the question I hinted at up top. I did, in fact, jam in one DraftKings playoff best ball draft. As Short Gamer is saying, that's 20 rounds, LOL. It is a 20-round draft on DraftKings. I personally do not think those drafts are worth your time. Although me saying that makes me say out loud, maybe there's some overlay there that'll be of interest into people out there. If you have the money, $20 entry fees on there for $100,000 up top. But boy, it is ugly. The people who you're drafting against, at least from what I saw this morning, jumping into one draft, people just drafting, no stacks, willy-nilly, any player they know who's a name they're drafting. The ADPs are also all over the place. Like Brock Purdy is listed as having a 162 ADP because they haven't updated yet with the players going in yet. I would personally say you're probably better off spending your money on Underdog relative to drafting good teams that have a logic to them. In terms of just pure overlay potential expected value there, that's where you can go to DraftKings. And I'm a person who over the summer, I love Underdog, was stumping for DraftKings on the summer because of the fact that there was an edge to drafting there was some upside. A 20-round playoff draft makes no sense, completely changes the game, makes it something that's probably bullshit, and only one team advances from each round as well on there. So not the prettiest one, not the one I would want to go to personally. I did not enjoy my experience on DraftKings that I was doing just to get my head around it, just so I could talk to you guys about it today. And I did it while working out and was like, God, this is just awful. I am not having a good time doing this one. So that is how I felt playing on DraftKings. Your mileage may vary. If you want a 20-round playoff draft, if you want to strap in for an hour to draft guys who might only play 60 minutes, if even that, over the course of the playoffs, then you can go do that over on DraftKings as well. You can see this room here going kind of crazy. C. Schmidt drafting some players in a way that doesn't seem to make the most sense. He started off with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. Now he's taking a Bill. Now he's taking a Niner. This is what you run into in the Mitten a little bit more than the Gauntlet. That said, the Gauntlet, which is the higher dollar one, normally higher dollar drafts on Underdog, a little bit sharper, a little bit cleaner for you to get the stacks you want because people mostly stay out of each other's way and let them do what they need to do. Definitely not the case in what I saw this morning on the Gauntlet too. So we'll talk more about that as we go. And again, hopefully my connection's holding up here. I'm getting the Wi-Fi alerts and fucking Alex just sucking the life out of me. All right, let's take Austin Eckler. No, you know what? Brock Purdy's probably not coming back to me because of that fucking idiot. I'm going to take Brock Purdy here and not risk it. And I will say, based on what I have seen so far, where I'm either getting the 101 and taking Josh Allen, or I am taking Christian McCaffrey and going down with Brock Purdy. I think a lot of people will probably align with that logic there. As you can see on this board right now, 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. That does make it a little bit tougher to pinpoint the stacks you want that are going to be those apex stacks, the ones with the best chance to make the Super Bowl. So that's something to keep in mind as well. There's going to be a lot more give and take on the mitten. Going to be a lot more give and take really in any of these drafts we're doing right now. Now the teams are locked in. Unless you are a big Seahawks believer, you can get those guys for free at the end of the draft for absolutely nothing. But obviously the Seahawks, certainly a team that running into a potential buzzsaw going against the Niners is a 10-point dog on Saturday. Who's drafting well right here? Okay, so it seems like this guy, Trevi in the first hole, or Trev, perhaps the 2 Vs in the first hole, drafting a Bills team. You can see he's kind of taking the core parts there. Didn't get his alpha receiver, didn't get his alpha overall. Oh, Brent's saying can't do Underdog best ball in Ohio, but not DK. Why, Spags? Why? I guess they must really want you to do 20 rounds of drafts, Brent. They must know you enjoy strapping in for an hour for a team that might be dead after 1 weekend of games. So that's the kind of fun you can have an Underdog right now. All right, what else are we going to get here? This is already crap. People sniping picks that aren't going to be the most useful. I'm not going to get spiteful, though, because I do have my core Niners build for the most part. Would have been nice to get one of Debo or Ayuk, but here we are. Let's take James Cook here because he's the only Buffalo running back that makes sense at this point. How many playoff NFL contests have you joined in highest exposures? I've loaded up on Eagles, hoping to get some rare Eagles stacks the second round. So I did a lot more in the Gauntlet than I did in any of the mittens so far, just because I feel like the mittens tend to fill up very fast. Same thing with the puppies for all you guys who have not played playoff best ball before, but have played the regular preseason best ball. So I just tended to focus on the Gauntlet. I thought I'd be able to keep drafting Gauntless teams until the end of the week and have a little bit of that value going against teams that were drafted earlier on. But I think right now I'm about 50 in. My exposures I actually haven't checked very much, so you can play along with me here. We'll check my exposures after this round. And of course, these drafts go by so quickly that we will knock out a few drafts on this stream. So hang with me. Stay tight. Stay tight. That's what I would say to Alex too. Don't worry. She's as tight as can be. Oh, we're 5 minutes in. I can't be saying things like that. Goddard has raised its highest owned, though, so I don't think Goddard's going to be my highest owned. If I had to guess, my highest owned right now might be Josh Allen or McCaffrey. I've been getting a lot of influencer 101s on these playoff best ball drafts, which quite frankly, I don't think add a ton of value. The good news is when you do get Josh Allen, sometimes Stephon Diggs will fall to you, but now that the Bills are locked into the wild card, I don't expect that to happen that much more moving forward. So to me, any Josh Allen Diggs stacks I have, those are the valuable ones that I think are probably not going to be replicated in any of these other tournaments now left. Oh, bonk. Getting bonked. Yeah, look, that's the kind of tight I mean. More like staying tight, just like staying tight, like, hey, we're staying tight here, guys. Short Gamer, I will tell you what the thought process for DK was. The thought process was, boy, Underdog seems to be making a lot of money and have a lot of interest around best ball drafts. Let's do our own version, but let's also put no effort into it to recognize what players want to do. So they did make it a 6-team draft, but you do not want to do 120 picks of playoff best ball. I can tell you that right now. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It takes way too long. That is how I feel about DraftKings, but I think it's just them being lazy, like a lot of things that DraftKings are. And I say that as somebody that plays exclusively on DraftKings. Like I don't like FanDuel that much, but I like Underdog. I like DraftKings for DFS, and for playoff best ball, I would strongly recommend you consider the alternative other than playing on DraftKings. All right, got another pick coming up here. We have our core Niners. Not really anybody Niners-wise I think we'd want to add at this point, so we're just going to keep it moving on that front. We got 3 Buffalo guys. I think we should try to get 3 Chargers if we can. We're going to run into some people here, but I do like that Keenan Allen is still on the board. Obviously missed out on Eckler, so that's going to be a less valuable stack, but it's possible Mike Williams might fall after he did hurt his back here. You could see the report. Yes, his x-rays come back negative, but I think this will spook people enough to not go Mike Williams' way. So I'm going to try to get to the Chargers as my second AFC team, even though, I think that Mike Williams, certainly a risk profile with how banged up this guy's been all year long. This guy's bored. This guy in the 6th spot, I do not enjoy very much. And if he's in the chat, I apologize. I just don't really get what you're going for here. Like, why take Gabe Davis? Why do that? That just threw off the entire room for no particular reason. All right, we got Mike Williams. Let's do that. So this might be more of a build to try. I might go 3. I got 3-3-2. Maybe I'll take another 2-man and include a running back in that one. Because, like, I don't think it's worth taking a Josh Kelly at this point, though maybe it is. Maybe Eckler gets hurt. I might still go with a 4-3-3, but I would personally recommend for you guys out there, if you can, try to get a 4-3-3. Like, that's the one that Hayden, of course, Hayden Winks has been on Splash Play before, who we love a lot. Who also does a great job on the Underdog football channel, which you should be watching on the regular, too, to get your football info from both Josh and Hayden, who do a great job. I personally enjoyed watching their streams all season long and to recommend it. But he was saying a 4-3-3 is what he feels is the optimal. I think Pete said similar things. I'm a little more willing to get loose with it, where I like getting that 4-man build in particular. I like the 4-man that you're hoping to get to the Super Bowl. I think that's an important one. But sometimes you got to take with the hand that's dealt. And like, is it worth me taking Juwan Jennings at this point? Or is it worth me taking some more AFC teams that could get there? I think the latter. So that's how I'm going to try to approach this one. But yeah, I would say from my perspective, a 4-3-3 is sort of the pristine build you'd want to get to. It's just hard to expect that you can get that cleanly every time with the best parts of each stack just because of how these rooms go. Miami's value has fallen quite a bit too, which I think is worth pointing out because they are a team that is going to play in the playoffs, and that's an important one with some upside, obviously, for guys like Tyreek Hill. Going to be a tough matchup going against Buffalo. They're underdogs. Might not see Tua back out there, which certainly makes the offense a little bit worse, but still would be a case here where I think embracing the volatility of Miami would be something I have interest in. And if Tyreek hadn't gone there, I would have strongly considered getting Miami in the mix for myself as well. But I do have Buffalo, so that might not be the smartest move. Normally, the one thing that I think a lot of people out there recommend, which I'm a little more willing to play fast and loose with just to get through the wild card, you don't want to take two teams going head-to-head in the wild card because then basically you have only the chance to advance one of them. So that's something to keep in mind just relative to the team constructions. I think we can get another AFC team. Let's get Baltimore. Why not? We got no Cincinnati here. So we're going to have a 3-man Niners build with a bunch of just generic guys from these other AFC teams. I think I'll probably end up with DeMarcus Robinson at the turn here. You could make the case that maybe I should take either the Chargers running back or Josh Palmer to complete the Chargers, but that's not how I'm going to play this one. It's just now I'm not going to do it. And of course, strap in, guys, because these are going to be a bunch of drafts today. So don't log out thinking we're only doing one draft, guys, because these are easy to binge. These are like the Pringles, the Lay's potato chips of drafts. You can just keep getting up to bat, keep drafting more teams, just keep scarfing them down. I'm a draft pig. Also, apparently a running back pig. I'm taking running backs in the first round, which is not my preferred style of play. All right. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do? We got Baltimore, as some would call it. Josh Palmer or DeMarcus Robinson. I think I took Dobbins, so let's just take DeMarcus Robinson. Maybe Watkins has been kind of involved a little bit more than I would like, but I still refuse to believe in him. At least Robinson showed an upside in Baltimore, so I'll take Robinson here. And of course, Steven, one of the guys I trust the most, saying, I go Palmer if he ends up with any wide receiver injury on the Bolts. We know it could happen. That is a fair point, but I did the way that I did, and here we are. Just did a big mitten, and Williams went undrafted. That's interesting. I think there's a lot of aversion to Mike Williams right now, but let's look at my exposures. We'll figure that out first. If these are the Pringles and Lay's, what we consider DK's 20-round playoff draft, it's like when you go to like a crappy, like let's say a Chinese food buffet, like one of those ones where it's not that good, but you know it's like, okay, it's still good enough to get through. And you eat so much and you feel awful for days. That's what DraftKings is like. It's like, oh, it still kind of fits the tone of what the snack is, but nowhere near as delicious, nowhere near as enjoyable. Let's splash. Let's splash indeed. Everything here is a splash play. All right, so you can see my exposures on the screen. Let's focus on the gauntlet first. Let's see how that's going. So apparently 50% J.K. Dobbins in the gauntlet, 33% Tyler Boyd, 28% T. Higgins, 25%, almost 26% Joe Burrow, a lot of Gabe Davis. This is the downside of drafting Josh Allen, is you then kind of have to force yourself to take Gabe Davis. But these are my exposures overall: QB, Burrow, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Purdy. Nothing dead for the most part, besides I guess one time when I got froggy and drafted Ryan Tannehill. And hopefully these Miami stacks end up being a little bit more valuable. Holy Dobbins and Lamar, I thought they were worth it for one round. They were basically the team I was going to when I thought the Bills were going to get the bye, and also when I was like, I need to have wild card points. So I think they fit both those criteria. But that said, yes, I'm deeply invested in Ravens' success, at least for one round. And if the Ravens make a run, we're going to be in a good spot. Running backs, Dobbins, a lot more McKinnon than I would have thought. McKinnon's kind of gotten steamed up to the point where I think it's untenable. Christian McCaffrey, Samaje Perine, again, just trying to complete Bengals stacks, and I think Perine does have some late round value. Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, James Cook, Pollard. I think Pollard to me is one of those guys where I'm actually surprised I have the same amount of him and Zeke, but Pollard I don't love that much relative to Zeke. Zeke is more the playoff back to me. Pollard, I just worry he's going to be mostly used as a gimmick guy in the playoff run. We'll see how that goes. And then here are the shitty guys I drafted. Did invest a little bit in Aaron Jones and Green Bay when it seemed like they were a sure thing to get in. And yet here we are. Aaron Rodgers will find a way to disappoint at every turn at this point in his career. And my wide receivers here, heavily exposed to the Bengals, heavily exposed to Gabe Davis. A lot of Brandon Ayuk here, but it's probably just mostly a symptom of my Niner stacks and guys like Kittle and Debo going a little bit earlier. Dallas Goedert coming up a lot for me. Michael Gallup coming up a lot for me. I am kind of willing to throw some of my exposure stuff out the window for playoff best ball drafts. A lot of it's just what gets handed to you. A lot of it's just what you're comfortable with and the guys that you think are a little bit undervalued. So that's why some of these guys, to me, like, yeah, I would love to have more Jamar Chase. Would love to have more of the guys who are actually good. The 15% Jamar Chase is not that bad. But overall, I think that's sort of how this goes. And of course, it's shorter rooms too, so the exposures are going to be different. And I forget the exact math that would be, but I'm sure somebody in the chat could tell me. All right, let's hit another mitten 3. Again, this one is probably going to fill by end of day today would be my guess, if not first thing tomorrow. So if you want to play along with me, here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1, done. We're in. 3 spots. Wait. Why are the Vikings so easy to stack? Because people don't believe in them, Poofy. That is why. People that you believe in, that you find the public doesn't, have a lot more value, I would say. So that certainly goes for the Vikings. They are a team that defensively has been so bad on the year. They're going into an NFC playoff series where it's just going to be a lot of teams that have great defenses. And obviously the Vikings have done nothing to kind of engender good faith based on what they've done lately. Like Cousins looked good yesterday, but end up pulling the guys at halftime. Justin Jefferson doesn't get there. KJ Osborne, a monster who probably should get drafted a little bit more relative to the playoffs because he could be the Gabe Davis of the year. But that said, it's one of those things where people just don't like the Vikings, so they don't draft them. The Chargers are the opposite, where nobody's drafting the Chargers because they were afraid they weren't going to make the playoffs. Now the Chargers are in, so people are taking Eckler like top of the second round. People are going crazy on Chargers. I don't know. That's the best move either. I'd personally rather have the Jags at like the end of the draft rather than reach for Chargers, but that's how I'm feeling about it. There we go. 1 out of 6 is 16.7%. So you can see the guys, even the 15.4% guys here. Thank you for doing the math, Eric, because that was not mental math that was going to occur for me right now. But that said, it's one of those things where you will see higher exposures across the board. As Brick said, I think rather astutely over the summer, ideally, if you're trying to be with the field on every player and just take advantage of soft rooms, in regular best ball, you want to have about an 8% exposure because that's what every player is sort of owned at. In playoff best ball, you'd then want to have that 15.5% exposure if you were going to play Brick's way. That said, the playoffs is certainly more of a touch and feel thing. Really, I would say try to get heavy on the teams that you think are going to make the Super Bowl. If those are the Vikings, then great. You're going to have unfettered access to the Vikings for the most part in pretty much every draft you're going to do. Giants late in the move for the wild card, easy matchup for DVP. I say this a lot, Eric, but don't sweat DVP numbers. That always leads people in the traps. Like, obviously, the advanced analytics numbers sometimes matched up with DVP, but that's something that I've noticed a lot with DraftKings that I think is sometimes an error. And it's sometimes people don't play like Zach Moss yesterday, which surprised me because I went low on Zach Moss because I thought people were going to steam him up. But that's something that happens a lot. People draft guys because of DVP, and I would try to eliminate that from your process if you can. Get some better data like DVOA. Obviously, I'll swear by it, but other EPA numbers also good too. All right. Let's see what we can do here. Let's go Jamar Chase. I don't go Jamar Chase early a lot, but I do think I'm going to get scooped on Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, he's kind of a known quantity now, but I don't want to be under the field on Jamar Chase for the most part. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's something I've been thinking about too. When I think it was actually Raise It who had said it the other day about, oh, yeah, if you got Tampa Bay, that makes sense because you're leveraging against Dallas. If you are taking a team, now that we know these first round, seedings, all that stuff, you can sort of get leverage on a team that might be a little more popular than they should be, all that stuff. So like the Jags would be leverage on the Chargers now. The Giants would be leverage on the Vikings. Who would be another good one? Seattle would be leverage on San Francisco. So if you're really over leverage with San Francisco, you might want to take some Seahawks. That's something I'm going to consider over the course of the week for sure. But it could be worth it if you find yourself a little bit too exposed to one team. At least then give yourself a shot at a lower owned team who would then benefit if you did somehow fail in whatever other lineups you're drafting. All right, Burrow's gone. I'm going to go. I don't know if I've done a lot of Cincinnati with Dallas, but I should be able to get Dak late. So let's do that. I think people are down on the Cowboys quite a bit. So I'm willing to be there just because I think the Cowboys defense is better than what they showed yesterday. Sam Howell, as we all know, if you've been following these streams all offseason long, Sam Howell's a world beater. He looks like a guy who'd be a big fan of Barstool back in the days when I was there doing the Tinder blog. But now he's an actual quarterback, a real boy, and he's played real competition. So it wasn't a shocker to me to see him be good against Dallas. If I were them, I probably wouldn't go into the offseason with him as a starter. But I think he does the things that like Gardner Minshew did well as well, where like Dallas is going to struggle if you force the ball deep against them. Will they get matchups that do that? I mean, I guess Tom Brady's going to try, but I think the pressure is going to really be the thing that hurts Tom Brady the most. But it does, it is a weakness they've had. And I think Sam Howell kind of took advantage of it as much as he could relative to that game plan. So, but I still think Dallas, to me, easy Super Bowl contender team that I'm willing to get to. I like to pop out the draft board and drag it to the right for split screen action to see both. Have I tried? I usually draft on my phone. Personally, that's my preferred way to draft just because I could do it on the go and pay attention. And for these streams too, like it's a little bit weird to try to do them both at once because then everything just gets smaller. That's what she said. So I would say from my perspective for a stream, probably not the right move, but draft however you want. Like I think Liam drafts on like 3 computers. So what's stopping you from doing that? Nothing. All right, let's take another Bengal. There's a chance I get scooped on Dak here, but I'm not going to sweat that too much because I just don't think he makes sense for anybody else right now. I like this build though. Getting some top tier talent, which has honestly been hard in some of the mittens because of just people's fucking grab bagging things and not stacking and doing that stuff. And that's the thing to kind of prepare for too. If you are new to this format, you can go in with your best hopes and dreams. Like I can go in one to get clean 4-3-3s and all of that. I can go in one, being willing to take some less stuff. You still might not get the players you want. You still might not get the stuff you want just because people are taking things all over the place. Hopefully will be less of the case in this room because we have guys like Raise It, guys like Short Gamer who are approaching things a little bit smarter, but definitely not a great time when you do get stuff sniped a lot, as people saw in my stream last week. And then you just get spiteful and you ruin everybody else's room. All right, let's take Dak here. Let's not risk that because we'll get one of Pollard or Elliott on the way back. Team right now, Dak, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. This is a real solid team. This is not a usual start you get where you feel this good about that. I think that is the one benefit, though, of when you do pass that QB early, is that you do get a higher value skill position guy. The issue is then you're taking a lesser QB. But like, can Dak have a ceiling like Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow? I think so. So I'm willing to take that flyer. Draft whoever you want. Didn't know Blender would be on the splash play today. Yeah, I think that's a fair. Also, I said the splash play like a 60-year-old person hearing about a social media platform for the first time. But I do think with these drafts, like it's still about stacking. I think the issue though is like, I say draft whoever you want within the framework of general stacking for the most part. People in these drafts are just drafting literally whoever they want, where they were like taking Derrick Henry uncorrelated. They're taking Eckler uncorrelated now. And that stuff can help you get out of the wild card. But after that, your team is probably going to be dead in the water if you didn't correlate other stuff. And that's the whole thing, is you want to have a full roster for the Super Bowl. And that's really an important thing to try to keep in mind. Daniel, I think it would be too small. I mean, I'll try it one time. Not today, though, because I hate changing stuff midstream while doing a show. But I'll check it out and see if I can make it work. But I just think it hasn't worked the best in the past. Like the best thing that works, and I learned from the best streamer at Best Ball Drafts, perhaps in terms of stream content more so than the actual drafts. Pete Overzet, of course, the man who showed me it all. I take so much Zeke. I think I need to take a Tony Pollard here. I can't believe he's fallen this much. I absolutely have my doubts about Pollard, but we now have really good parts of 2 good teams. So I'm okay with that. And as you guys saw, I'm no stranger to taking Tyler Boyd, but this might be more of a Hayden Hurst spot for me relative to what the room gives. We'll see. I think you could also make the case to take Pollard and Zeke, but I probably won't do that. But I think you can make the case because I think they have upside in different game scripts, different opportunities, different ways where Pollard maybe scores early, Zeke can hammer it home. They could both make a winning lineup. But that said, I'm making the bet on CeeDee Lamb, so I don't think I want to do that today. Would you not make a 4-man stack with the Eagles or KC because of the bye? I would have no issue doing both, but I think that's something where, people are getting worried about McKinnon. That's interesting. I wouldn't be worried about McKinnon here, but he doesn't make sense for my build right now. Honestly, I guess I could make it make sense because I do need a second AFC team. So let's do it. Jerick McKinnon. That's too good of a value. The one you have to worry about with McKinnon or with Rojo rather would be Isaiah Pacheco. And I don't think you have to worry about him because Rojo was getting the work because they didn't want to hurt their guys. Like they cycled in everybody on Saturday. Like you saw Justin Watson catching the deep passes. You saw like basically every guy on a tight end playing some snaps. So if people are scared of Jerick McKinnon, I would lean in on that. I think McKinnon's a really strong play. Getting him 17 picks after ADP, that's not how that should go. Daniel, this is a mitten, not a gauntlet. I'm doing the mitten now because the gauntlet's going to be open for 5 days. Like people are not going to max out a $25 tournament as fast as they will. But it's worth pointing out too, the new gauntlet is 200K up top. The first one was 100K up top. So if you want the bigger prize pool, if you're like me and you just get the thrill of like, hey, I want to win a lot of money and beat a lot of people, then the gauntlet 2 is going to be possibly a better EV. I liked the Gauntlet 1, though, because you were drafting against people who were making a lot of wild guesses. People who were like full stacking the Titans in the hopes that they were going to make the playoffs. So that's something where I think there's a little bit of value in that. People taking some Patriots here and there. That's stuff that's dead now. That's would only be in the first Gauntlet. Will not be in this Mitten 3. Definitely wouldn't be in a Mitten 4 and won't be in the second Gauntlet as well. Oh, well, I didn't think you think that, but I think your thought, like, the thing is, like, you're making a joke. The reality, though, is like whenever you make any joke about people drafting kind of stupidly, you're drafting in a way that doesn't make the most sense based on what you know is like a sharp player. People are actually thinking that. Like, that's been my main revelation this year is like, how do you balance what everybody else is going to think with what the advanced stats tell you? And that's how you end up walking into like Brian Robinson buzzsaws that week that he played Houston. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens a lot. So, just keep that in mind is that whenever you think that something is a dumb take or something's like a joke take, like in reality, there's a lot of people that do have some really bad takes out there that are going to continue to be bad. Wow. What is going on in this room? So here's, I think, a room where it feels like people are maybe outthinking themselves a little. Like, there's no reason Jerick McKinnon and Juju Smith-Schuster should have fallen to me here. That's just not how you should do this draft. The Chiefs are a very likely team to make the Super Bowl. Yeah, Will is saying this draft is falling perfectly for me. I agree. Have you seen any of these tournaments start with overlay? They don't start with overlay, but obviously you can read the room if they are going to. But I would think the underdog ones will not overlay at all. The DraftKings one, I think, is a pretty good shot to overlay. What's up, Nick? Appreciate you guys. If you're watching live or after the fact, by the way, please hit that like button. Helps me out a bunch. Obviously, we've been growing the channel as best we can despite having less access to Pete. So I'm very proud of that. Very proud of the community that we're putting out there and making grow, I guess, every week. So please hit that like button and help us out. Shit. Gallup more important to my build. Let's take... I'm panicking. I'm going to take Gallup. There was a case to be made to take Kadarius Toney there. Just to flesh out my KC build, but I think I'm going to take one of Hardman or MVS late. It is a sexy team. I'm surprised. It's hard to get teams like that. I think I'm benefiting from the guys who aren't in the chat are drafting kind of poorly, and then the guys who are in the chat are just drafting clean. So like Short Gamer, Raise It are drafting clean, and then Love Cheese, whoever that is sniping Raise It. And not messing with me. So I feel pretty good about this team. This is one of the better teams I think I've put forward that wasn't just kind of luck boxing, one random guy falling like an Allen Diggs correlation. Good point by Willis. Let's see if Toney makes it back. This is crazy. Don't be this afraid to buy teams, by the way, guys. Like it's very infrequent. I don't think it's happened in like a while that both number 1 seeds have made the Super Bowl, but you shouldn't be this afraid of a 1 seed because you're not playing for 1 week. You just take other players in the wild card. This is not what I would suggest. Like this room is not usually how this goes. This is a real clean draft and I'm getting here and I love it. So thank you to everybody helping me out to have one good draft. It's not getting sniped at every turn. This is insane. All right, Kadarius Toney, come on down. The only Cowboy I didn't get that you could have made the case I should have wanted to be Dalton Schultz, but maybe we'll see more gimmicks for Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson in the playoffs. So I don't know. Sick team though. Dak Prescott, Joe Mixon, Tony Pollard, Jerick McKinnon, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Gallup, Kadarius Toney. These are all guys that are like top 100 picks. Like if you were to do an actual like season draft, I'm blown away by this being the room I got, but hey, happy to have it. Hayden Hurst still around? No, Hayden Hurst went. All right. Oh, Trenton Irwin to complete our Bengals. Why not? We'll get contrarian here. There's probably a better player to take at this point, but you seem to like Trenton Irwin. I'll take the gimmick player who I haven't taken once. All right, so final team is going to be Dak, Joe Mixon, Tony Pollard, Jerick McKinnon, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Juju, Michael Gallup, Kadarius Toney, Trenton Irwin. Thank you to everybody who participated in that draft and gave me one good team, and let's just move it forward. Let's keep going. Oh, T.Y. Hilton. Yeah, you could have made the case to take T.Y. Hilton. I wanted to get the three-man from Cincinnati, so I was kind of dead set on taking whoever was there. Was hoping Hayden Hurst would fall, but obviously it's not the case. But this is one of the better teams I've taken, so yeah, Short Gamer couldn't take any Chiefs with his build, but thank you. But nice team. Here we go. Jumping on to watch Spags go. Fuck it. Let's go contrarian. Love it. Oh, that's going to happen soon. It's going to happen when somebody blows up the room. But let's hit another mitten, guys. This is the fun. Just keep rolling them forward. 3, 2, 1. I'm clicking. You raise it. Pacheco undrafted. I don't think that's how that should be. Like, I like Rojo. I don't think they were playing Rojo to heat him up for the playoffs. I think they were playing Rojo because it's like, let's preserve the guys that we think matter. And Rojo can't play special teams either, which is something that has inhibited him in the past. So I don't know, but I'll take it. All right, no influencer 101 here again. We got a 3-man, got Short Gamer in again. We got Wounded Geese in again, I think, right? We got M Lan here, or M Lang. Let's see what these guys do. Let's see what the board gives us. And these drafts too, I would say much more than preseason, regular season, whatever you want to call it, best ball. I would say that you got to take what's given you a little bit more than you do in those formats where you could sort of, work around different ways for playoff best ball. Like if somebody takes Josh Allen and then you see Diggs going, like don't compete with those guys. Like it's not worth trying to take the parts of it where you're then getting Gabe Davis as your Bills representation and taking a 3-man Bills build. So I would keep that in mind for stuff is like play the hand that's dealt to you, play the hand that's good for you. Oh, Brent's Wounded Geese. Okay, good. Good to know. So we got Wounded Geese in the chat. We got Short Gamer in the chat. Is M Lang in the chat? Maybe. Pacheco, not good. Hardman is. Hardman would take away more from McKinnon than Pacheco. Pacheco's just a pure runner. And I agree Pacheco's not good. Like I've been beating that drum all season long, but he's not like that not good that you wouldn't draft him on a Chiefs team. There's a reason he's got like a 1980p. All right, so here's normally where I would take Christian McCaffrey. But all right, let's do a bye week team. Let's see how we can do that. I'll take Jalen Hurts here. And let's hope the bye week guys are a little bit undervalued. Because I think that would give us a shot to get AJ Brown on the comeback. So, like, the main thing with Hardman was he was getting the red zone targets a little bit more, and that's been where Jerick McKinnon has shined the most. Snap-wise, like, he would take away from MVS because MVS has been basically running every route. Not this past week because, again, they were, like, cycling guys in and out. Juju didn't even play on that first drive. But it is one of those things where I think Hardman takes the most away from McKinnon, but he takes routes away from all the receivers, too. Ashton thinks that Hardman's a steal, which I agree. Like, I think in terms of what the playoffs are, which are just like, hey, gimmicky guys sometimes get touchdowns, but the main guys get the target concentration. Like, I do think that, from my perspective, I would say Hardman is a steal because you're getting him in the last round. Like, who would you rather have? If you're going to talk about a guy that, like, who could give you 20 points in the Super Bowl? Is it more likely to be Demarcus Robinson or, DK Metcalf with where Seattle is right now? Or is it Mecole Hardman? I think it's probably Mecole Hardman. So I'm fully aligned with that. I think Hardman is a steal right now, but I think he does take mostly away from McKinnon. That said, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's also going to be really tough matchups. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here. It's going to be whoever's open that he can find. And like, that's what Mahomes is going to do. That's why he's the best. And the fact he doesn't force it too. Like everybody wanted Mahomes to throw for 430 yards and break the record on Saturday. You know what he did was he took what was there. Like he took Justin Watson deep routes. He took some gadget plays. Like he took a flip to McKinnon in the end zone. Like that's sort of what you're getting from Mahomes. So yeah, got to keep that in mind. All right, here's what we're doing. Strap in. We're going Chargers, Eagles. Is this a likely Super Bowl? I don't think so, but I'm honestly really worried about the Chargers with that line. Like they should be A 2.5 point favorite at Jacksonville, I would think, but I think that feels live for a Jacksonville upset. My guy Jonathan. Jonathan's one of the guys I feel like is not newer to the Splash Play community because he's been riding with us, I think, since basketball season. But I love just seeing new names in here. So Daniel, happy to see you in here. Happy to see the new names. Happy to see this community growing. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and being willing to just jam some football all year long because that's what brings me joy, and hopefully it brings you guys joy as well. And no better way to do it than on Underdog. I guess I'll do the ad read too, because I did already sound like an ad. Use the promo code SPLASH to double your deposit up to $100 on Underdog. If you haven't played playoff basketball before, if you haven't played basketball before, again, just really adhere to those 4-3-3 stack kind of approaches, but just get in there. Just play drafts. It's a lot of fun. Gives you some skin in the game to ride out throughout the playoffs, and you have a shot to win. The mittens are going to be a little bit softer too to advance because you do advance 2 people more often than not. Community. There we go. All right. I think we're just going to take Miles Sanders here. Or should I take a stack? No, you know what? I like Miles too much. We'll get Chargers late. Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it, man. Honestly, it brings me a lot of joy. You guys don't know. Like, you guys could see me do these streams. Obviously, I bring high energy regardless of the situation. But these streams have been a piece of joy for me all season long. Even though it's been hard to kind of figure out what we're doing on this channel, what we're going to try to do. I think you guys have helped me drive the focus a lot, as well as, frankly, the fantasy flocks of the world helped me drive the focus a lot, where I just don't want to give bad info. I don't want to give bad info like that. But I do want to do the same things that guy's doing. Just, do good info. So that's the hope. And then maybe I'll wear a blazer when we get to the offseason. Who knows? All right. I mean, we still got Goddard here, but I can't pass up on Herbert at this point. Let's just take Herbert and try to snipe out. Try to make it so nobody else takes Chargers will be the hope. It's a tough roll here. Somebody might take Keenan Allen. Big Dan says 4-3-3 seems too comfortable. It's not. I mean, it's also so hard to pull off a pure 4-3-3. But I would say that's, it's the optimal for a reason. That said, could it like a 4-2-2-2 get there? I think so. It's just a matter of like, what's your 4? Like, the main thing that's going to matter is what's your 4? Did your 4 get to the Super Bowl? Because I think at that point, it's just about who's going to have a full roster and actually have some upside. Because you're going to have a lot of teams where it's like Mahomes without Kelsey. You're going to have Allen without Diggs. So do you have a 4-man build that can beat those versions of those teams? If you do, you're going to probably win or, have a good shot at winning. If you don't, then you're going to be dead in the water. When it actually matters. You might advance, but you're going to be dead in the water in the Super Bowl. Today's chat has been fired. I agree. Everybody ready for playoff best ball, which I'm excited. I think this is best ball. Obviously, part of the reason I was so interested in what we were doing was, learning from Pete firsthand, but also I think best ball is a growing industry. It's a lot of fun that I think is a solution to a lot of the tilting we have in redraft leagues and season long leagues and all that stuff. But playoff best ball is a lot of fun too, because it's not figured out. Like, there is an advantage on that front. And also, you just have some skin in the game throughout the playoffs, some things to root for. Dallas Goedert is still here. Keenan Allen's not, though. I think I got to take Goddard. And I'll trust that Mike Williams will fall. And I'm going to take another AFC team, too. I guess. I try 4-3-3, but the mitten snipers are real, says Poofy. Poofy Wob is just a fun name. You sound like an adorable children's show character, Poofy, and I enjoy that. But I would agree. It is hard to get him. It's obviously a little bit cleaner if you go for those later teams. If you wanted like a Jags, 3-3. If you wanted Seattle 3-3, you can get that for nothing. Tampa Bay, get that for nothing as well. But I agree. The mitten snipers are definitely out in full force and make it tough to accomplish anything. As we just saw with Mike Williams going, what is this guy's team doing? All right. Let's start building another AFC team. Oh, no. You know what? Fuck. Let's take Mark Andrews. Guess I'm going to add to my Dobbins exposure here. Why not? All right. I go Keenan before Herbert, more likely to avoid someone hitting both on a turn. Fair point. I mean, look, I feel pretty good about the Herbert-Eckler correlation. I now just need, enough to get through the wild card. Like, Herbert and Eckler, to me, is as good as any duo you'll have in the wild card. McCaffrey, I'd put a little bit higher, possibly with Purdy, though I guess Purdy kind of pulls it down enough where Herbert would be up here, Purdy's here. So I think those are two that are probably my favorite for the wild card. But honestly, what's going to happen is like Daniel Jones and Saquon is going to knock everybody out. I don't know. With this build, though, I'm so locked into Philly now, where I've got my Philly 4-man, so I have to focus on the AFC at this point. I might do a 2-2. Yeah, I might just do a bunch of twos. I'll try a 4-2-2-2, and we'll see what we can do with that. Why is it blurred? Am I showing my titties on stream and I'm being censored by YouTube? I don't know. It's either my connection or yours, Mike, and I don't think I'm blurred for anybody else. But tell me if I'm blurry here. I'm only blurry in terms of the content and my vocal stylings. I'm not blurry in terms of the video. You can also make the case I should just take Lamar here. I won't, but you can make the case. You good? Spags stream is not blurry. Dude must be day drinking. If you are day drinking here, I'm jealous of you because this is not my day drinking season. I had to do work over the weekend to close a deal for Football Outsiders. So I am not blurry on that front. All right. J.K. Dobbins, come on down. We're thin at receiver, though. Holy cow. Oh, I might be fucked. I'm going to have to take 2 receivers here regardless. But I guess Dobbins, Eckler could play the flex, so I just need to make sure to get at least one more receiver that can make this lineup. Not a bad team, though. Like, talent-wise, not a bad team. I don't think I have enough firepower to get through the bye. But that's what these next 2 rounds are for. These are going to be a crucial next 2 rounds. Yikes. All right. Let's take Josh Palmer. Complete that. All right. So my wild card wide receivers are going to be Mark Andrews and Josh Palmer. Yikes. Yikes, indeed. Luke talked about that up top, but I agree that the DK format is absolute trash. It's just them half-assing it. Like, if DK were smart, what they would do, they have so much money, they're a publicly traded company. What they should do is bring in somebody from Underdog, like poach somebody, pay the money to poach somebody from Underdog who knows what they're doing, bring them in to head up product and do all that stuff. If they cared enough to do that. That said, I don't think they view Underdog as a competitor. They should. And like, if DK were doing as good of a product as Underdog, a lot of us would just play on DK. And I don't think they realize that. I don't think FanDuel realizes that. They're too worried about the sportsbook stuff. DK format's 20 rounds. 20 rounds, 6 teams. All right. Man, taking that second QB, like that's one thing I've observed a little more is that you really lose a little when you have to take a bye week QB, just because of the fact that like you really have to get your skill position guys almost perfect. And I don't love that. Honestly, who's going to have more upside for me in the wild card? Demarcus Robinson or Christian Kirk? I feel like it's got to be Christian Kirk. All right, I'm sorry if I'm sniping anybody with Trevor Lawrence, but Christian Kirk is going to come on my team here. All right, final team, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Eckler, Sanders, Dobbins, and at receiver, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. They're both on bye. Oh, fuck. That's the downside when you start reading a team. All right. So Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown going to be on bye. And then my receivers for the wild card round will be Mark Andrews, Josh Palmer, Christian Kirk. That's going to be thin. That's going to be thin. And that's what you're seeing there is the issue with the wild card teams as I enter another mitten here. The wild card teams that are not playing, or rather the bye week teams that are not playing in the wild card, you really have to have good guys in the wild card going. And Eckler's going to, I think, cover up some warts. But boy, I don't trust the rest of that receiving core. All right, counting this down. 3, 2, 1. We are in. So I drafted Ken Walker in the overflow. I did that too. Like, honestly, if you have enough room to draft one more NFC team at the end, like they're a really nice 3-man team if you didn't take the Niners as one of your NFC teams. So I don't hate that at all. You could. Steven agrees with me that Christian Kirk was the move. I think if you were trying to like advance the Ravens all the way, then I would possibly have taken Robinson there. But because I'm just trying to escape the wild card, I just want somebody who's going to give me raw points, and that feels like Christian Kirk. Max, the good news is that you never miss a draft, really, because you could just always scan backwards and rewatch the content. Even if you're not in the draft yourself, you can just enjoy enjoy my dulcet tones getting tilted as we go. Hey, shout out all the live viewers, by the way. This is a nice little live viewer mark for old solo Spags in the afternoon, so I appreciate it. We've been crushing on the after the show views lately, but for a live stream, I appreciate it. And if you're new around here, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment after the fact. Very glad to have you here hanging out with me today as we do some playoff basketball. And I'll be doing this for the most part all week. I'll probably do DFS once those, I'll do a first look show, I guess, when those are out, but and if Pete's back on Friday, we'll do the usual ride or die pick stuff. But besides that, it's going to be playoff basketball here this week. So come back, hang out with me. It'll be around this time most days this week. All right. All right. For the sake of the experiment, let's do the other side of the bye week. We'll do Patrick Mahomes. So we did Jalen Hurts. We'll do Patrick Mahomes here. Because basically, like obviously I want these teams to win. More than anything, though, I'm just a cultural anthropologist who just wants to draft different teams, have a stake in the ground for some of these guys. Yeah, there we go. Max is right. We need more likes. Smash the likes if you're hyped for the playoffs. Yes, that's the right way to do it. Don't make it about me. Make it about the playoffs. Hey, if you love NFL football, hit that like button. If you're mad about NFL football, hit that like button. If you think that that Bengals-Bills game should have played, hit that like button. I'm not a big dog drafter. Like I like drafting a lot of entries in the smaller, no, it's not even the smaller field stuff. I like drafting a lot of entries in the $20-ish to $25 stuff. But I'm not planning on doing the big dog just because we see the caliber of people who win a big dog. I don't want to be associated with that riffraff. But also, I don't want to spend that much money to be quite frank. Like I'm happy to spend the $2,500 I got back from Underdog from Best Ball Mania. I'm not excited to start jamming big dog drafts and spend it all right away. But also, I think for playoff best ball in particular, like you got to be willing to eat some entries, and I don't want to eat an entry of that size personally. All right. So we got Mahomes. Kelsey went because, of course, Kelsey went so close to getting Kelsey. All right, let's show how easy it is to get the Vikings. Chiefs, Vikings. Let's go. Such bullshit that guy took Kelsey. I get we all want a Niners Chiefs Super Bowl in terms of the teams that we can build here, but you don't need to take Travis Kelsey there. You can let me have him. Max rooting for spite here. I don't know if I'm going to go the spite way. Okay. Kevin saying, when do we see the spite draft? Kevin specifically said he enjoyed my spite drafting on the other video. So, it's got to happen naturally. I can't force it. I can't just be forcing myself to rage tilt on every stream. That's not who I am. But trust me, enough happens organically over the course of these streams that you might see one come up at some point. Do I roll the dice that McKinnon will fall to me? No, let's just take McKinnon now. McKinnon, the alpha target for Patrick Mahomes. Yikes. See, Gobbler is supporting my take here. I've done 6 big mittens and I'm dejected at the end every time. That's the downside of it because you're spending enough money where it's like, why did that guy take an uncorrelated player in the 3rd round and ruin everything? That's where my head would go with it. So for the sake of all you guys, as well as my own personal sanity, that's why I'm not doing the higher dollar ones. But honestly, if you have the resources to do it, do it. Like you're probably going to make more of a killing in those because it seems like high stakes is fairly soft this year relative to, and you're also paying for a discount. You're paying for less people competing. Like that's sort of what it is on most formats. But again, I get the thrill of the hunt is what I'm here for. Everybody wants the spite draft. Well, you know what? We'll probably get one more draft in today at least. So that's possible. I usually like to pair NFC QBs, and Raise It, by the way, has made some really good points in the chat, so I think you should adhere to what he's saying as well. I like to pair NFC QBs with the Chiefs because you bet on the Chiefs to make it to the Super Bowl more than likely. T-Law or Herbert gets knocked out, and Kansas City in the by Kansas City in the 2nd round, so I think Brady or Jones. Interesting take. I think this could be a build where I do go. I'm obviously taking the Vikings now, I guess, so I can't take the Giants. That sucks. I'm sticking with the Vikings for now, but I think that does make sense. The Giants seem a little bit undervalued, honestly, relative to matchup. Because I think the Vikings could easily blow that game. Like, I know people don't want to hear it. There was one of our things, one of our guys at Football Outsiders did, where every year he sort of does like, oh, what would the records be if you flipped the one score games? The Vikings would be 1-15 heading into the week, this past week. They would have been 1-15 if they just like lost every one score game that they won, which is insane to think about that could be the case. But the Vikings, to me, are a team that a little bit overrated. That said, as we talked about earlier, you can get the full team. So you got to kind of weigh what's the value here. A team that's an absolute paper tiger or getting the full paper tiger. And I think in this particular build, I'm going to prioritize getting the full paper tiger. Yeah, Daniel, that's you are spot on about it. It's a lot easier to do content as well as just not get mad and not get not get too upset about it when it's $5. At least that's how I view it. Obviously, for some people, $5 is a lot. So your mileage will always vary. All right. I mean, we got the best parts here of the Vikings, so let's do Juju. I honestly don't think I've taken much Juju, but here I am, the Juju Whisperer today. Captain Kirk is great with this build. I would agree, though. I also very much agree with Max here. Like the if you're gonna make one money line bet this week, the Giants beating the Vikings is probably the best one, just relative to value, relative to two teams that we saw play very competitively, and one team's going the right direction. It seems like one team's going the wrong direction, and you can read between the tea leaves about which is which. And you can see Short Gamer here taking Saquon Barkley. So clearly, the sharp minds are aligning here. Me, Short Gamer, Raise It, Max. We're all coming together here. Bucks money line plus 130. I'm a Dallas believer. I think they're going to get to Brady a lot and heavy. Scott saying the only people scared of the Vikings in the playoffs are their fans. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, that crowd, though, gets so into it. You get the skulls going and whatever, and you get them all chanting and drunk, normally cheery Minnesota people. And then here they are running into this situation where, I don't know, they could carry that team for one round, like over the Giants, who I do think are kind of league average in a lot of ways. They could beat them, but they can easily lose that one. Like, that game should be almost a pick 'em, I would think. Whereas, like, Tampa Bay, I know everybody's riding high off of Tom Brady in week 17. I think he's going to get killed by Dallas. I think he's going to see Micah Parsons in his dreams for whatever, until he goes to Vegas or wherever he's going to go next year. All right. Back on the clock here. We got our running backs. Let's just take Kirk Cousins and get him out of the way, even though we're not going to get scooped on him. Though, I guess, you know what? Let's do hero ball. We're going to take some bucks. Just because I would like to get a second NFC team. I don't think I'm in danger to lose Kirk Cousins here. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Dallas hasn't looked good since the Vikings beat down. So that was one thing that I thought based on the eye test. But they still have gotten better in terms of like run defense DVOA. I haven't looked at the past DVOA numbers, but they've been better in the second half of the season. Clearly, the Vikings showed how to attack them, and I think a lot of teams have done that. You can beat them downfield, you can make that work. But man, I really do think that it's a little bit overvalued how bad Dallas is. People just want to see Dallas be bad, and that's something that I don't believe in quite as much. All right, let's take Mike Evans. And if for some reason I get scooped on my Minnesota guys, then I'll take Tom Brady. The cokehead guy. Oh, now we're slandering certain YouTubers who host at night with the suit is better. I mean, look, there was one thing that I was reading this week. It was from like a pro wrestler guy talking about the concept of like always dressing like a star. I don't dress like a star unless we're counting the money hat, which of course, I mean, talk about star quality. This is it right here. But that said, I think there is something to dressing like a star that gives you credibility, especially for people that like don't know better. Like if you say, fucking word vomit, that sounds like you're smart and you're wearing a suit. People are like, that guy in the suit's got some good points. Whereas you look like me and you say bullshit that you don't know what you're talking about. People are like, that guy's a fucking idiot. Like, why is he wearing a money hat? So I think there's something to it. That said, do I want to wear a suit every day when I'm literally work from home for a football analytics site and do this content? Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. What if Drew Lock is the guy you need? What if? He's been waiting for this moment. He's been waiting, biding his time. I still think Drew Lock, like, especially with how Geno played in the back half of the season, like, they almost gave that game away to the Rams. Like, I think that they would be just as good with Drew Lock. I still contend that. All right, we got Kirk Cousins. No skin off our back. Done. This is another good team. I need a little more for the bye week. Gonna need one of Fournette, I think, or White. But I feel good about it. Who's more valuable to this team right now? Fournette or Hawkinson? What do you think, chat? Fournette or Hawkinson? Who's more valuable to what we're doing here with this particular team with Mahomes, Cousins, McKinnon, Cook, Jefferson, Juju, Godwin, Evans? I think I've got enough to get through the wild card, but I could use one more running back, which feels disgusting to say out loud. Fournette. If Willis says Fournette, I take Fournette. And hope Hawkinson can fall. Yeah, Hawkinson could go further. I think that's the logic. I think that's the logic here. Because nobody's taken. See, this is what I was thinking, Poofy, was that I would go Hawkinson and White. I think it's worth the dice roll that Hawkinson might not be here, or might be there rather when I pick next. But I also think Osborne is a pretty good consolation prize. So people are saying Fournette. Vikings could beat the Giants without Hawkinson. Has to be Hawk when you pick Kirk. Interesting. We'll see. Man, I have to say though, like in my personal time, these drafts are not usually this clean. Like this has been two very clean drafts in a row for the most part. This honestly might be one of very few Mahomes teams I have. Like I have Kansas City stacks, but I do not usually have the QB just because of how that works with the first round. Anyway, Hawkinson goes there, so guess I'll take KJ Osborne. I could take a Chief too. Osborne's been looking so good though. Like Osborne is everything Adam Thielen used to be, but he's also fast. Like he kind of looks like Justin Jefferson sometimes when you're out there, not in a weird way, not in anything inappropriate, but like he looks like he's got some juice and he gets open and he fucking plays his ass off. Like I like Osborne. Oh no. Somebody sniped me on Kelsey and then he sniped Carlos too. You don't get away with sniping Carlos on my watch. All right. What are we doing? What are we doing? I think let's just go Osborne. I'm going to trust my gut. Give me some KJ Osborne. All right. Could made the case I should have taken one more Chief, but I didn't. Final team going to be Mahomes, Cousins, McKinnon, Cook, Fournette, Jefferson, Juju, Godwin, Evans, KJ Osborne. There we are. What do you think, guys? We got 46 people in the chat right now. Let's do one more. I'll give you guys another shot. I'll do it on the cheapie here. And again, the mittens filling fast here, up to 93% fill. It was at 91 when we started the stream. So get your mitten entries in now and get them in with me right now because I'm hitting that button. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you, Willis. I have enough NFC to where I'm fine without another Kansas City receiver. I hope so. I always get tempted to overstack, and I think that's going to be one of my weaknesses too, is overstacking a little bit too much across the board. But, yeah, what are you going to do? I love that we're all just jamming mitten drafts today. Just get that EV while you can. What is this Slack? Oh, nothing better than getting a Slack while at work. Okay, good. Nothing important. Thank God. Nothing gives you more anxiety than Slack. One of the joys of working. What is work? I know all too well right now, Max. Though when this is part of work, Go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. A lot of people unsubscribe from Football Outsiders at the end of the year because they don't like care past the regular season. We actually have a lot of good premium content coming out this year. The All 32 column by Derek Klassen is going to be every week. Derek Klassen is going to be there every week. And that's one of the better film watch plus advanced analytics things that you will find out there. He's no Evan Silva, but who is, of course. But I think Derek does a great job with that. So go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Check him out. Show a little love here. Help us fight the tide of people that just give up after football season. You don't give up after football season. You worry about 2023. You get on the horse with some NFL draft content. And I'm also, by the way, building some data sheets for the NFL draft. So I'm going to be my own version of a draftnik this year. And I'm going to be jamming some big boards and all that Underdog as we go as well. Do I have a Seattle stack yet? I do have one at least. But yeah, I just think they get smoked. They really should have lost that game yesterday. Is how I feel about Seattle personally. But that's sort of what I think the deal is that people are afraid of this matchup against the Niners. I'll take some Seattle stacks in my private time. I think we just haven't had to today. Seattle stacks are when things are like, oh shit, I got nobody left and I didn't take the Niners, or I'll take Seattle at the end. But we just haven't had to get there yet. The like button for a fine stream. When you like the stream, something bad happens to one of your real life enemies. That's great. I'm glad to be a part of the negative juju for others that can go out there. As I get positive on my juju today with Juju Smith-Schuster, huh? Seattle 1 CD and 20 possessions against the Niners in 2 games. Sup, Spags. That is some quality analytics. Definitely small sample size stuff, Justin. But yeah, I think that what they do well is everything that is a problem with Geno and this roster right now. And then they're also going to completely stuff the run with Kenneth Walker. And I just don't think Pete Carroll and the gang have enough tricks left up their sleeve at this point to do anything good. All right, great. This guy's going to hopefully try to build Dallas and Buffalo, or he just sniped me for no reason on Diggs, but Diggs was going to go anyway. So that's the way it goes if you take Josh Allen at the 101. Prepare for that. You will very rarely, if ever, get Allen and Diggs. I don't think you're going to get it at this point at all, as I mentioned earlier. I think because of them being in the wild card, those guys are a little bit overvalued. This is not a great spot. This might be the Seattle spot, actually. It's all AFC here. Fuck. I don't want to do Minnesota again, but I feel like I don't really have a choice here. All right, Jefferson and ugh. Oh, now I can't take the Giants lead either. That was stupid. And now let's reach for Gabe Davis. Ugh. Nothing worse than I'm going to take Gabe Davis 6 picks ahead of ADP when we all did that all offseason long, and that did not work out for very many. Ugh. I will take Seattle here, though. That much I promise you. As long as Seattle doesn't get scooped, I'll take Seattle in the back of the round. Oof. It's just it sucks. And that's one of the things that I do think Herzig had said. Of course, Justin Herzig, the winner of BBM1, who does streams over at ETR. And we, watch his streams too. He's very smart. He was talking about you really do want the cream of the crop of your stack. It's impossible to get the cream of the crop if you take Josh Allen in the first spot. Just because you're then not going to get Diggs, so you have to get Gabe Davis and Knox. And the good news is you're inherently fading Diggs. The bad news is you are fading his top pass catcher, who's going to get a lot of defensive attention, but is the top guy for a reason and was the one he looked for time and time again. The one thing you can give Gabe Davis credit for is that when the game mattered a lot yesterday, he got 10 targets. He just only caught 3 of them. And that's the Gabe Davis experience. Kittle Gabe was the move. Okay. I was thinking about Kittle. I just if you get Kittle, then it's you're not getting McCaffrey. And if I'm getting Kittle, I ideally want to get McCaffrey and Kittle because I think if they're both doing well, that's how the Niners get there. But I guess that makes the case then against my point because if they don't fully get there, then Kittle could be enough. So fair enough. Am I ready to start drafting into 20 rounds again? I love it. It's a lot of fun. That said, the fact that this is just so easy, and again, you can just binge, just fucking, you just Garfield it with some lasagna right in front of you. I do love that part of this a lot, but got to play the hand that's dealt. And right now, that's 6 rounders. I guess Devin Singletary. I've drafted a lot of Singletary in playoff drafts, and I kind of worry it's a fish play because James Cook has been looking good. James Cook looks better than his brother right now. Will is crushing it today. If you're ready to draft 20 rounds, DraftKings drafts are live. That's true. If you want to, I'll read off here. I did the one draft this morning. I'll read off some of the guys on DraftKings that I took earlier because I think it is an important way to crystallize what we're talking about here. Okay. My team from earlier. I'll read the whole team. So this is going to be 20 spots, guys. So strap in. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Isaiah Pacheco, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Travis Kelce. And then this is where I think I started to panic because everybody was gone. The stacks didn't make sense. Mike Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Palmer, Samaje Perine, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Darius Slayton, Daniel Bellinger. Didn't get any Jags receivers because they all got scooped way earlier than they should have. So I picked Jamal Agnew, JaMychal Hasty, Mike Gesicki, Josh. This is where it really gets fun. Round 18, Josh Oliver, Justice Hill, and in my 20th round pick, Peyton Hendershot from Dallas. So if you want to dig deep on players that maybe you and I know, but you really don't have a lot of love for, and that's where you go. You go on DraftKings because that's the only place you're going to get Peyton Hendershot exposure this offseason. Oh, that's great. Damar Hamlin discharged from the hospital, is on his way back to Buffalo. It's been a lot of great news for him this week. And I enjoyed Buffalo too. Like, you could say what you want about the random numerology of it, where like Josh Allen was crying about the fact that like, I guess there hasn't been a kick return touchdown in 3 months, 3 days and all of that. But like kick return touchdown, the first play after what happened with Damar Hamlin is like insane. You could, when Damar Hamlin goes back to that locker room, the first guy he needs to go up to Nyheim Hines and be like, man, I know you've been on the team for like 8 weeks. You love me more than everybody else because I've never seen a man run as hard on a kickoff return as Nyheim Hines did on those 2 plays. But honestly, really nice moment. And, you know, there aren't like sports makes us so cynical sometimes, but it really was nice to see that happen. And I still think the doctor who wrote him the "you won the game of life, son" note, that guy can go screw. But good afternoon to Hugo. Anybody coming in late? We'll hit one more draft for you, and then maybe you guys could talk me into one more. But now we're getting to the untenable length of streams where nobody new will ever watch, and that's always the danger zone. All right. Got Dawson Knox here. Let's just finish that off. I'll put him in the queue so I can think about this because I'm on the back-to-back. And then, yeah, you know what? Let's just take Hawkinson, and then we'll be done with it. 2 tight ends, 1 round. Sure. I won't waste the time here now that I know. Nice little Minnesota Super Bowl, though. Minnesota-Buffalo Super Bowl. I don't hate it. Spags is against life. Who knew? I know his DM I'm not replying to now, Fred. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'm pro. No, I'm not pro-life. I'm pro-choice. So I guess, yeah. I guess in that respect, you win, Frederick. You win. For the next draft, one more time. All right. I cave in too easy with all these things, but like, honestly, if I jump off here, I'm going to reply to a few emails and hang out for an hour until I have to go pick up Luca from daycare. So we'll binge here. Minnesota, Buffalo Super Bowl, 2 teams enter, 1 team finally wins. I think that's why the Dallas Buffalo Super Bowl is kind of fun too, because that's like, again, one of the memories I have from childhood is when I had gone through the bad parts of my Dallas Cowboys fandom of them being 1-15, and that being my first memory of Troy Aikman being terrible and getting stretchered off and killed by Lawrence Taylor and all of that. And then it was like, oh yeah, the Dallas Buffalo Super Bowls happened and all that stuff. But like Dallas Buffalo would be like a nice nostalgic thing. You know, the 90s are now nostalgia. I learned recently that the Zoomers or whatever we call like the youngest generation right now, they call the 1990s and the 1980s and the 1970s the 1900s, and that just feels awful. So if you want to feel old and shitty, just talk to a child, I guess. 1900s were good to me. I'll say that. All that hope in front of me. Didn't turn 16 until the 2000s. And since then, trend water. I had so many fresh starter jackets. This is how I remember the 1900s. Yeah, the 1900s were a great time to be a Cowboys fan. 2000s, oh boy. Well, everybody really gets your goat if you're a Cowboys fan in the 2000s. Everybody really knows all the buttons to press. I'll never forget though watching that Tony Romo, the one where he like botched the snap when they were going to win the game against, I think it was Seattle. I'll never forget that one because that was one where I was like, holy shit, I might never see another winning Cowboys team in my entire adulthood. And that was that. And then the Des Bryant non-catch were the two times where I was like, this team was as good as I could ever remember them. And now it's over. Oh, cool. Let's just gamble. And that's what led me here. The starter jackets were fire. You had a Chiefs one. The Jags and Panthers were hot when I was like a 10-year-old or whatever. That would be when they were expansion teams because they were like really bright colors and everybody wanted them. And I was right there with them. All right. We got 2 rounds. Let's go. We don't really need a running back. Let's go DK Metcalf. Oh, no, we got 3 rounds. Good. So I can take Walker too. Let's take Walker too. Kenneth Walker, Texas Ranger, come down. Our first Seattle stack of the day off the board. Feels good. They shouldn't be this cheap. Like, there's still a team in the playoffs. They shouldn't be this cheap. When did I get started gambling? My first memory of gambling, I bet on the Pro Bowl once when I was like a sophomore with this rich kid in my high school who was a freshman, or it might be like junior, sophomore, but somewhere around that range. And then what really got me hooked on gambling was the year that the Pats beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. We did like a little bracket thing amongst our friends. And honestly, it was pretty much like a lot of the guys in like my senior class and then some juniors and whatever. And we did a pool. I picked every game right. Like, obviously not versus spreads. It was just straight up. But I picked every game in that playoffs right, including the Pats upsetting the Rams. I don't know how. Like, I don't know what. There was no advanced metrics there. But that got me hooked on it. And then in college, I gambled and walked away from a while after college because I had hit on a 7-way parlay for $8,000. And that got me out of a really deep hole I was in terms of like, I had gotten stuck with an apartment from an ex in college where she left me with a lease. And then I had to fucking deal with it. And that money got me there. And I was like, I already knew, even though I didn't actually know, I knew the concept of expected value. Whereas like the fact that I hit a 7-way parlay betting on like a Clipper game and St. Mary's on the West Coast and whatever, I was like, this is never going to happen again. I need to not gamble for a while. And then I didn't gamble until I got into DFS. And that's pretty much it. And of course, when I was doing DFS, it was when I was at Barstool, and I didn't do DFS in any Barstool content. And I should have been doing that because I would have been very early and made a lot of money. But instead, I just built nothing. Instead, I just had some fun, had some drinks. Seattle in 2009, cried so much. You got that first down too. Yeah, no, that's a tough one. Willis remembers it even more clearly than I do. All right, and now let's get Lockett. And we got ourselves a pristine Seattle stack that nobody wanted. Nobody will continue to want. I think this team's a good example, though, of like what you can do if you just take Seattle late. I also don't label my mittens. I only label the gauntlets because that's the kind of classist I am. We will do one more draft, so hang on. Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, Devin Singletary, Kenneth Walker, Justin Jefferson, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, TJ Hawkinson, Metcalf, Lockett. I mean, this team's got a good shot to advance through the wild card. And then from there, it's a dice roll, which is probably all you can ask. So, all right. All right, last mitten here. I will commit to this being the last one. I won't be guilted into doing any more. I won't take any super chats and do more. I will just take your money and run. Use it to pay for daycare. But here's the mitten. Last one. Probably the last one you'll see on a stream for me because this is going to be closed tomorrow. 3, 2, 1. We are in. Willis hit on a 10-leg parlay and won $15K, but didn't stop. Yeah, I knew even then in college, I was like, I'm going to give this all back if I keep betting it. So that was why I pulled the plug, and I also just needed the money for like, to get through college basically. So that was sort of how that went. But yeah, that's my origin story for gambling. And then also for being responsible with it, I guess too. Like I will certainly spend a little more than I should, but never enough that like it hurts all the way. And I would certainly advocate that one. Pretty responsible of me. I would have gambled it and lost it all. That's the life lesson. I think some people are going to need to learn that in 2023 based on this void Devin Booker things and all that. Spend what you can lose. Spend what you can lose. Max finally got in the Spags draft. Willis got in this one. All the stars are out in this draft. Carlos is in it too, I believe. So we got everybody. Oh, Max is Scratch My CD. Okay. I didn't know Max is a badge bro. I've only seen Max's like real name, his government name, not his street name of Scratch My CD. I've also been told that it's like a boomer thing to have your real name as your username. And I say, fuck that. The Chris Spags brand is strong. That's my at on everything. No pseudonyms here, baby. You only get the real thing that people only vaguely want occasionally. I got out of my hole and now playing DFS on crowns only. You must have some good crowns because they really tax you up on those crowns for entry fees. As I saw yesterday, spending them to do the afternoon slate because I was like, fuck, my lineups are dead because of Justin Jefferson. I played 30% Justin Jefferson yesterday because I was like, you know what? Push the chips in the middle of the table, see how it goes. Didn't go that right way. Did not work out that way. Jefferson and Cousins, actually, that single, that two-man stack, absolutely killed some lineups I had that could have done damage with other players that I got right. I got Lawrence Cager right in a couple lineups. And yet Justin Jefferson did not get right at all. All right, we're on the clock here. I'm going a 2023 vintage Christian McCaffrey start. Though I've liked these teams. It's too comfy to go McCaffrey. It's too comfy. Let's see if we could somehow talk somebody into not going Joe Burrow here. It's not going to happen. People from the Discord. Of course. Lil Pat saying, just join. You thinking 2 team stacks if you can, but no more than 3, kind of like the MLB one I did. I don't know what MLB one you did, Lil Pat, but yes, I would think that there is sort of a similar concept to MLB where you're just trying to get big chunks of the lineup. For MLB, I'd probably max out whatever you can stack. Obviously, the Badge Bros guys would know more than I do. I know they've been doing MLB and hammering that. But based on what I know of DFS, I would try to take the maximum because, like Osmo had said before, the actual Osmo, who is the man behind Stochastic, had said, like, if you could get a 6-man stack, you should play a 6-man stack. You should always try to stack in baseball. So I would try to take as many guys in one stack as you can in baseball. But maybe that's different for a season. I don't know. For this, though, 4-man, 3-man, 3-man would be the so-called optimal approach, but, with some wiggle room if you want to get weird. All right, we got Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow doesn't fall. Jalen Hurts does fall. Ooh. Okay. That's weird. Why did Jalen Hurts fall? Let's do it. We're doing an Eagles-Bengals Super Bowl, I guess. Yeah, I was that same way, Kyle, where I was like, I should switch to more likely, and instead I just kind of did it by hand in 10 lineups, but I should have jammed likely harder. The fact that he went for 20 points is outrageous. The fact that Anthony Brown threw 44 times is also outrageous, I will say. Anthony Brown was not good. Anthony Brown, we all know I love backup QBs. Willing to take a stab, played a little bit Anthony Brown. Boy, watching him drop back every time was fun to watch in the wrong kind of way, where it was like, what is he going to do stupid this time? How bad is he going to miss a guy this time? There were some plays where it was like, wow, there's not even nobody even nearby, like nobody even close. All right. Get our Devonta Smith. Get our Joe Mixon coming up, maybe. No, that's right. I guess we might have to get oh boy, this is going to be tight. People hate Mixon, but I don't think enough to let him fall 4 spots. Oh, you got the Burrow? Okay. Max has the Burrow. Makes sense. Max is getting that start I had in that other draft. All right. What are we doing? I guess I'll take Miles here. I'm getting real thin, though, on the AFC side and the wild card side now. But I'll stick with it. When Jalen Hurts falls to you at almost 10, I think you just got to do it. Oh, thank you, Willis. That's why you're my choice accountant. Willis, I have to Discord you about something because I know that we didn't do one thing that we did last year, but I don't know if Pete did on his own. So, Willis, I owe you one somehow. Time for Jags. Interesting. I want the Bengals 49ers stacks, but I can't see being able to grab Burrow, Chase, and CMC. Yeah, it's unlikely at this point. You could have gotten that a little bit earlier in the draft process. I think I actually might have that build in the gauntlet. So that's why like my early gauntlet teams are my favorite, but it's tough now. Like a lot of the kind of backdoor, like really nice builds you could have gotten are now completely gone because everybody knows the seeds and people were like really drafting, I would say stupidly in the beginning part of the gauntlet where there was stuff that just didn't make sense. People not drafting according to actual playoff probabilities. That's why I have so much J.K. Dobbins because I was hammering Ravens the entire time, just like knowing they were in, but people were treating them like they weren't going to make the playoffs. And I didn't get that. All right. We're on the clock again. There are no good Bengals around. I guess I could reach for Tyler Boyd, or I can really have a good Philly stack. I'm just going to take the Philly part. You shouldn't take a 4-man team on a bye, but I do it because I'm a badass. The badass of drafting is what they call me in terms of making minus EV moves. Oh, thank you, Willis. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. The Jags are your late panic team. That's a good late panic team to have. I think it's a better one than Seattle, personally. They didn't have the heart to snipe me on Goddard. I rely on charity on these streams. That much I can tell you. All right. What are we doing here? Tyler Boyd's gone, which is fine. Let's go Jags. The Jags will be my bailout team here. And maybe I'll take P. Ryan late. Oh, I don't know why I highlighted your chat, GA. I don't even know this is in reference to, but yeah, just bad. You have to pick a QB. Okay, here's a good question for everybody. You have to pick a QB to lead a game-winning drive or you die. Anthony Brown, Skylar Thompson, or Nathan Peterman? I think it's got to be Skylar Thompson by like a landslide, I would think, which I think there's a good shot you're dying with any of those. But if whoever this person is that's arranging these hypotheticals, which tremendous way to use your organized crime money, I guess, if you're going to make people bet on backup QBs, what they're going to do. Relative to the depth charts, I guess you should say that Peterman's the option because he's at least a second stringer. Those other guys are third stringers. But I think from what I've seen, I'd go Skylar Thompson. He won the game yesterday. Those other guys cannot say that. Peterman, because he'd actually throw the ball. Yep, that's Max has got my take. Skylar did it yesterday, so him. I think it's probably right. We're all going to die. Yeah, just go driving off the cliff with all your third string QBs. Skylar, though, like he's got a cool name. I'll give him that. Like he could be any guy who's got a name where it's like you could be a really cool guy or a hot girl. I think I'm always like, all right, let's keep an eye on this guy. Boy, he's not that good though. He's not that good. Jets are a tough D though, so it's sort of hard to grade him out. Just every time I've tried to believe in Skylar Thompson, he just doesn't do much good. You got to think they're going to start Teddy next week because Teddy could have played this week. I would start Teddy Bridgewater over Skylar Thompson personally. A lot of support for Peterman. More support for Peterman than I would have thought. I just know whenever I've seen Peterman play, I'm like, I got to play some of the opposite defense. That wasn't great for the Vikings. Like they weren't world beaters or anything, but better than nothing. All right. Still got Trevor Lawrence on the board. Let's just get Trevor out of the way. I guess Mostert had a game-winning drive. That's the best way to look at it, yeah. I mean, that's the main thing that, like, it took a while to crystallize for me, but I would say for everybody else out there, like, when you see a backup QB play, and he's a guy that's, like, it's not Jimmy Garoppolo where he's had some success. Even Garoppolo kind of has a hard time with it. Just know that, like, they're going to hit the tight end a lot. Like, that's just how backup QBs go and it's not because, like, oh, the tight end's the safe guy, like he's a safety valve. It's because they literally can't accurately get the ball outside without getting picked off. And that's what coaches beat out of backup QBs is like, don't try to hit the out route. Don't try to do that because you don't have the arm for it. Just hit the guy who's there. So that's something to always keep in mind with backup QBs. The running backs gain in value, the tight ends gain in value, slot guys like the Greg Dortches of the world gain in value as he did with David Blau. Definitely something to be mindful of when you see a backup QB coming in. All right. We need another Bengal, I would think. Take Hayden Hurst here. Sorry if anybody's waiting for Hayden Hurst. Wow. Max took DK Metcalf. Interesting. Max is getting that Seattle build. All right. I think I know how I'm going to go here. I know I'm going to go. Need one more Jag at least. Let's see. Here's the place where people come together. Obviously, we all get sniped in these rooms, but here are Willis and Carlos, two of our Splash Play regulars, two of our luminaries, I would say. And Willis, obviously, the apex predator of them all in the chat. And that sounded like that was insulting. To be clear, I meant that in a good way. But here they are, meeting a middle ground rather, and feeling good about each other, apologizing. That's what we need in the community of best balls. People just going like, "Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you were doing that." All right, we're on the clock here. I'm going to take Ingram. Kirk last time. Let's go Ingram this time. All right, so right now we've got Hurts, Lawrence, Miles Sanders, ETN, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Hayden Hurst, Evan Ingram, and wait till you see who I pick at running back last. Oh, see this? Boy, this is what community is all about, guys. Max apologizing would never want to hurt you, never want to make you cry. But tonight, Max is cleaning out his closet. I've seen some people taking Garoppolo late. He's either a safety net for Purdy, but also one-off thoughts. He's not going to play. Like he stands to make $25 million a year in the offseason. And granted, like this didn't work out with Josh Jacobs last week, who's also going to get paid this offseason, but still weirdly played all of Saturday. But that said, I don't think Garoppolo plays. Like I think it's Josh Johnson as the backup throughout the playoffs, barring something really weird. But he stands a lot more to lose if he were to try to play the playoffs than he does have to gain. Like the Jets are probably going to throw all the money at Garoppolo, you would think, to try to salvage what they've done to their team. And honestly, what a great spot for Garoppolo that would be. If you got Breece Hall back from an ACL and you got Garrett Wilson out there, some decent tight ends, including the young guy, Ruckert, I think his name is, who's probably going to be a factor next year. Looking pretty good. Iceman's here, zooming back to watch the start. Iceman, the only man I do live content for. I appreciate that, Iceman. All right, and here we go. Here's the bell of the ball for completing a Cincinnati build that you kind of feel weak about. Samaje Perine. Good team. Not great, but Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, Samaje Perine, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Hayden Hurst, and Evan Ingram at receiver. Tight end heavy build. Tell you what, not a lot of people are going to roll out 3 tight ends a receiver, but that's what I'm here for. Oh, this is good way to go out. Good way to go out. TikTok saying, thank you, Spags. It's a knowledge I come here to expect. It's a knowledge I hope to deliver every single time. But this is going to be my last draft for today. Come back tomorrow, guys, because there will be more drafts coming up. That much I promise you. And of course, I wouldn't be doing my job here on Splash Play if I didn't ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment down below if you're watching after the fact as well. If you have a question about best ball, if you have something you think you're doing that you either want to talk to me about or you think I should try, please feel free. I appreciate it a bunch. And use that promo code SPLASH and Underdog if you want to match your deposit up to $100. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this show at Splash Play Pod. And come back tomorrow around this time because we'll be doing more content. We'll be talking playoffs. We'll be doing playoff best ball drafts. And the DFS for the playoffs doesn't stop either. So a lot of fun to come up here. But thank you for hanging with me today. Appreciate all of you for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Good luck.